Well, hey everybody, and by everybody I mean all two of you. I'm JT Richardson, and this is episode 1 of Well, I'll Be Damned. I want to take this first episode to introduce myself, give a little bit of my own background, because I think it's going to be useful in moving forward in the future episodes, and to kind of talk a little bit about why I'm doing this and what I want to get out of this show. So, first and foremost, again, I'm JT Richardson. I am currently a very outspoken atheist. In fact, I would even say that I border on anti-theist, simply because I've looked at the effects of theism and religion on society as a whole, and I see a lot of negative impacts. Um, but I want to make it very clear that I was not always an atheist. In fact, for 15 years of my life, I was a very, very devout Christian. So I grew up in rural South Carolina, and religious ideology there is deep fried into the culture. God is on everyone's hearts there just as much as the cholesterol in their arteries. And as a result, I was a Southern Baptist. And at around the age of 11, I was baptized, took it very seriously, dedicated my life to it. And I even took it so far as to lead a few youth sermons at my local church. Whenever I was in high school, on my lunch breaks, I used to actually do Bible studies and prayer groups with people because I thought it was very important to spread the word and the good news. And it was my most important mission in my life was honoring God. So I want to make it very clear that I did indeed drink the Kool-Aid. In fact, I made the Kool-Aid. I put the Kool-Aid in a little ice cube tray, froze it, made Kool-Aid ice, took the ice out, made more Kool-Aid, put the Kool-Aid ice in the Kool-Aid, and drank the Kool-Aid. And whenever I was done drinking the Kool-Aid, I took the straw out of my Kool-Aid refreshment, poured a few lines of Kool-Aid, and snorted them right up. And I know I'm going a little ridiculous on talking about how devoted I was, but it's because I've had several conversations with people that try to tell me that I wasn't actually devoted, that whenever I was baptized, I didn't take it seriously and it somehow didn't stick, or a number of different things like that. And I'd want to make it clear that that's completely false. I was very devoted, I was very religious, and I've grown away from that. It was kind of a slow process. It mostly started through prayer. Over time, as I got to know God more and learn more about God, I started realizing that He is this all knowing, all powerful, all loving creature. And being that He knows everything, He knows the future, He knows the present, He knows the past. And He's also omnipresent, which means that He is always there in every time and every space. And so I started to feel very awkward approaching Him for anything. Because if He knows what's best, and He has a plan, and He is in control of everything, then why in the chicken fried fuck would I ask Him to do anything? He knows me better than I know me. He knows my future. He knows everything that's going to happen and how it should play out and the best way for things to happen for me. So I just felt either really stupid or really arrogant to approach Him and ask Him for anything. And so over time, my prayers just got really weird. I still prayed every night. I made it a habit. I wanted to talk to God because I loved God. And it was a very important thing to me to be able to have conversations with Him every night. But they did get weird. And it started to feel like I wasn't being genuine and I was being dishonest with God because I was talking to Him and still praying, but I didn't understand a lot of the aspects of why I was doing it, given the light that He knows what's best. So, like any good Christian that's having a crisis of faith, I acknowledged it and I tackled it head on. Talking to God wasn't working well for me, so I did the next best thing, which is studying Him and getting to know Him better through His Word. And so I began reading the Bible cover to cover. And I can tell you, as someone who knew lots of Christians, someone that was devoted and in the church almost every week for 16, 15 years, I was a very rare breed to be a Christian that was reading the Bible from cover to cover. There are a lot of Christians that do try to do it. Typically, a lot of things get in the way. Sometimes they might be reading a chapter that's more of a historical piece, and it's just talking about lineage or different parts of history. And sometimes some things in the Bible are just so time and period specific, they're full of so many great details that really don't seem to be relevant to your daily life. And so a lot of times Christians will start reading those verses and they just sort of give up. They get several pages in and they're like, I don't understand why this is important to me, what I'm supposed to be getting out of this story. Maybe they honestly see some atrocities that are in there and they don't necessarily feel comfortable and or like reading that stuff. And so they tend to skip back towards some of the warm, touchy-feely passages that make us all want to believe in the first place. It's why we have our faith. It's for those parts of the Bible that give us inspiration and give us hope and make us feel better about life. And so lots of Christians do not read the entire Bible, but I did. And I want to paraphrase Penn Jillette a little bit here. He says something along the lines of, the fastest way to make an atheist is to have them read the Bible. And that was very true for me, because as I read, I found lots of atrocities. I found lots of examples of a God that in no way, shape, or form seemed to be a loving God. I also saw lots of contradictions, and some of them were even in the Gospels talking about the life of Jesus himself. And so I talked to other Christians, I talked to the pastor. I was kind of given the answers that, it's the same story. People just might have had a different interpretation of it, or they might have gotten some of the details a little bit off, but they're telling the same story, and so it doesn't matter. But to me, I was taught that the Bible is the inerrant word of God. It's God-breathed. And so for me, even the tiniest contradiction was a major issue, because that meant that it wasn't perfect. And if it was divinely inspired, there shouldn't be contradictions. And also, like I was saying, there were the atrocities that the God of the Bible was committing and commanding others to do, and it didn't jive well with my understanding of who God was supposed to be. And so I was left with this weird moment where I couldn't pray well, so it wasn't working very well to talk to God. Reading the Bible didn't at all help. In fact, the more I did it, the more it hurt. And that's whenever I started growing out of faith. So you'll never really hear me say that I lost faith. I don't like the word lost, because that implies that it's something that's missing. And it's not something that's missing. It's something that I've grown away from. And so throughout that journey, I had this inspiration to try to help other people that might be in the same boat and help people understand what they might be going through, or even understand what their friends, loved ones, and family members might be going through. And so I wrote this book, Well, I'll Be Damned. Same name as the video. Clever, huh? One of the things you'll notice looking at this book right off the bat, it's not very thick. It's a pretty thin book. You'll see it's not very well designed. It's kind of ugly. If I'm brutally honest, it's not very well written. It could probably use 5 or 6 different revisions just to get to the level of decent. I am not one of these people that is a snob because they wrote a book. I wrote this book for the people that need it to help understand things or help understand each other. And so I wrote the book, published that, and now I'm trying to help get the message out to people that may benefit from it. As a result, I've also created a Facebook page. And yes, I know it's Facebook. And I probably seem like a geezer for using Facebook. I know that I sort of look like a millennial, but I'm actually much closer to Gen X. which means that I fucking hate social media, and Facebook goes along with that. However, Facebook is a little bit better for allowing people to join groups and make comments and have discussions that actually stay on there for you to read later. So even though it does violate free speech in a lot of ways, it does allow for discussion, debate, and useful conversation. So I am on Facebook. The Facebook page is just about the same as the book title. However, fuck you, Facebook, because they don't like profanity in their group names. And apparently damned is a dirty word. So I had to abbreviate the word damned for the Facebook page. So it's damned without the vowels. So the Facebook page is Well I'll Be Damned, spelled DMND. And I'll make sure to include a link on the description so that you guys can find it, since it's kind of confusing. I'm also going to include a link to the book. It's available on Amazon, both as a paperback as well as the Kindle version. And basically my hope for this show is to invite people to talk about these things. I want to try to help us all understand each other. I want the believers to be able to understand atheists. I want atheists to be able to better understand believers. I want the people that are transitioning from faith to reason, just like I did, to be able to understand themselves and what's going on and possibly see some light at the end of the tunnel. And so that's why I'm doing this video. That's why I'm doing the Facebook page, is because I would like this story to spread to people and to be able to actually foster useful conversation, to break down some of these barriers between us that cause so much hate and division, and to kind of help unite us and help us better understand each other and just get rid of some of these barriers that we have between us. So I invite you to join me for these shows. I promise I'm going to keep them short. One of the other things I really want to do with this is avoid what I call hyperlogic. So a lot of atheists out there have videos and lectures and books where they're using what I call hyperlogic, which is taking every conversation and dissecting little pieces of it and, pointing out the logical fallacies and sort of being smartasses and jerks. And they use a lot of really deep, hard to understand scientific arguments while they're doing it, and sometimes it just goes straight over people's heads. And so I want to keep this simple. I want to keep it on the average Joe level, make it easy to digest. In fact, there's a review of the book that says that I deliver my message as if I'm sitting to you at a dive bar. And so if you can't tell from this video, I want to do the same thing with this. So again, I invite everyone, whether it's believer, atheist, agnostic, whatever side of the spectrum you're on, join me in these videos. Check out the book. Check out the Facebook page. Let me know what you think. Drop me a line. I'm totally open for discussion. That's the whole reason that I want to do this, is to be able to talk with everyone and have a human connection with people on all sides of this issue. So check out the links in the description. Check out the YouTube page and like it and subscribe. And I look forward to being able to have a conversation with everybody and to be able to get something meaningful out of this and to move forward. So that's episode 1. I thank you, and I look forward to seeing you back again for the next episode. The next episode is going to be What is an Atheist? So sort of breaking some of the stigma and misunderstandings about what atheism is. And we're going to move forward from there with lots of other topics. So join me. Thank you.